Coming up on a new hour in just moments, and all eyes right now, Capitol Hill, because we are in just moments going to be hearing from Senate lawmakers as they try to work out a deal to avert a government shutdown. So here's what we're at right now. President Trump putting this out on Truth Social, saying the only thing that can slow our country down is another long and damaging government shutdown. I am working hard with Congress to ensure that we are able to fully fund the government without delay. Now, it's all going to come down to timing because once the Senate does what they need to do, will there be enough time to get the House members in to vote before the deadline comes? So let's break that all down for us right here on Live Now from Fox. I want to bring in our next guest to help break it all down. Dan Varroney, financial strategist on policies. Dan, thanks so much for joining us on Live Now from Fox. And, you know, earlier in the day, it seemed like, okay, it looks like it's going towards this government shutdown. And then things started to reverse in the afternoon and early evening.
Yeah, it's certainly very encouraging. So when you compare this possible shutdown to the actual shutdown that happened a few months back, the difference is both parties, both sides were actually talking this time. And what had happened is that as we get to the 11th hour, that the president and Senate Minority Leader Schumer struck a deal. The deal is to separate the DHS, the Department of Homeland Security funding, from the other appropriations bills that were to be considered by the Senate. So there are 6 others that will be separated. Those will be approved tonight. They will be then sent to the House. The House will not be back in session until Monday. The House will then pass these 6 appropriations bills, and the president will sign them sometime on Monday.
So technically, Dan, over the weekend, will there be this government shutdown, even though that they know they'll be getting some sort of work through on Monday?
So technically speaking, there will be a shutdown. And the reason there'll be a shutdown, it'll only be very minor, though, is that the way our country works is that the Senate and the House both need to pass appropriations bills, and the president needs to sign them. So technically, tomorrow night at midnight, funding runs out for these 7 different appropriations. So that means you go into what would be a minor shutdown. But again, that will be rectified on Monday.
Yeah, this is a much different scenario like you were just talking about. But Dan, I think a lot of our viewers want to know, why does it always come down to the final moments here where it seems like maybe they could have been working on this weeks and weeks beforehand, but why does it always have that pressure of just hours to go before something happens?
An interesting thing about Congress in all the years in the last 4 decades that I've been following Congress, they don't have to decide until they have to decide. So the funding deadline is tomorrow night, so they had to decide. The other thing that I would say is that what happened in Minnesota this past weekend was an important event, and that caused Democrats to say, let's see what we can do to get this DHS funding taken out of these appropriations packages. And that's what was different this time. But typically, Congress doesn't decide until it has to decide.
Yeah, that's so well said there because, yeah, it always seems like these moments are just waiting and waiting. All right, so now when we focus in on Monday, it seems like what Speaker Johnson just said, that, the votes will just come right through. And it's a much different scenario than we were the last time around when they had the record.
A far different scenario because you're looking at pretty much a total government shutdown. We couldn't get government reports. Checks weren't being written. Appropriations weren't being funded. The government wasn't running. For example, for small businesses suffered on 2 different levels. One was that from a regulatory compliance standpoint, they had nobody to call to get their questions answered regarding regulations. The other thing is that the Small Business Administration does grant loans to small businesses that needed funding the last time couldn't get it. And it was a big problem. That will not be the case this time. But Mike, one important point about this issue. So while these 6 appropriations bills are being separated, the DHS will have a 2-week window, right? It'll be a 2-week interim funding where both parties will get to negotiate on what the new DHS funding appropriations bill will look like. So that will likely come down to the 11th hour again as well.
You don't say. Congress
Yeah.
waiting. Dan, before we go, I want to show you this here, that House Republicans tomorrow having a conference call at around 11 a.m. That notice was sent out to the fellow colleagues there. What is this, just a tee up for what's going to happen on Monday?
So the answer is yes, and Mike, something in addition to that. The speaker will be looking to get a sounding of the Republican conference. He's going to put this out there, and he's going to get feedback, and he's going to make sure that he has everything he needs to get these appropriations bills passed on Monday.
Very good. Very good. All right, Dan, thanks so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. Always great insight and knowledge. We really appreciate it.
Happy to do it.